Hi, my name is Michael Sipos, and I am the UF IFAS Extension Florida Sea Grant Agent in Collier County. And today I'm going to be teaching you how to cook ceviche, or prepare ceviche. It's one of my favorite seafood dishes out there, and it's super simple because it's essentially cutting up all your ingredients, adding them together, and letting that lime juice cook the fish chemically rather than with any sort of heat source out there. So because it's chemically cooked, I would probably treat this fish dish as a raw dish, and because of which the FDA recommends freezing any sort of seafood at -4 degrees for about 7 days to make sure that the risk of parasites getting transmitted is 0 to none. So I actually shot this fish myself. This is African Pompano. I have a fillet video out there, and it's been over probably about a week, 2 weeks or so since I've caught this fish, and it's been frozen, so it should be safe to eat. Because of which using frozen seafood for this dish is a good way of doing that. The FDA also has a list out there that is for potential hazards with different fish vertebrate species. So looking at that, I saw that Electus ciliaris, which is the African pompano, the parasite risk is low, so luckily for me it's one of my favorite fish and I had a bunch of it. So I'm going to show you all the stuff that you need to cook this seafood dish, and beforehand I'm going to put this in the refrigerator until we're ready to use it. Okay, and like any good recipe out there, it starts with the most important step, which is washing your hands. So we're going to wash our hands with warm soapy water. And I want to say before we start cooking or preparing all these dishes, I cleaned, I sanitized all my surfaces. I have a separate cutting board for my seafood. I have a separate cutting board for my vegetables and fruits. It's really important to do so. Just the food safety is number one. So make sure you have different cutting implements, different cutting boards for your proteins versus your fruits and vegetables out there. So I'm going to angle the camera down and go over some of these ingredients that we need for this seafood dish. So you're going to need about 1 to 1.5 pounds of fish, or any sort of white meat seafood works great. That was African pompano. That package was about 1.3 pounds or so. And you're going to need about 3/4 cup to 1 cup of lime juice. So I got all these fresh limes here. That's about 6 to 8 limes, just depending on how big your limes are, how fresh and ripe your limes are, the juiciness. But if you're running out of lime juice, having this on hand is a good step, or if you need to use this, that's fine too. Some certain times of the year limes can be hard to come by or expensive. Next up, you're going to need about 1/4 red onion and 1/4, I like to put a Vidalia sweet onion in there. So, just a little bit of variation in there. This recipe I modified from one I saw online, and there's a lot of variations of ceviche out there because it's a Latin American dish, and a lot of different cultures adopted it and put different ingredients in there. So I made this my own, and now it's your turn to make this your own. So if you want to add more or less or different kind of ingredients to it, go ahead. Next up is your jalapeno pepper. Wash that up. You're going to need about 1/2 to 1 jalapeno pepper, just depending on how spicy you want it. Then about 3/4 cup of cilantro. That's a little bundle that I have there that I washed and waiting. Next up we have an avocado, 1 avocado, Hass avocado. A cucumber. I like to just put about half of it in there with the seeds scooped out. Need 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt or sea salt, and I like to put a little sprinkle of paprika on top and serve it with some chips at the end. It really makes a nice presentation. Oh, and I almost forgot, about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. And essentially all you're going to be doing is chopping these ingredients up, waiting, and put that in your mixing bowl, plastic bag, Ziploc bag, whatever you have that you're going to want to marinate this fish or cook it in, and just letting it sit. So let's start off by let's start off by chopping this red onion. So we're going to need about 1/4 of this red onion. This is about 1/2, so I'm going to get my knife here, quarter it. And then luckily I have 1/4 of a daily onion already chopped. Perfect. Let's put that here. I'm going to use this like little food processor thing that I got on Amazon. That's amazing for, you know, chopping up ingredients. And like I said, this is going to be the time that takes the most, besides sort of letting it sit, but that's not active. You know, you're letting the refrigerator and the lime juice do the cooking. So I'm going to roughly chop these onions and put it in my little food processor. Everything in here is either going to be sort of a rough cut, a cube, or a mince. So, did all that, put it in here. It's going to take you about 30 minutes to prepare all these ingredients, and then for cooking time, with you know, letting it sit in that lime juice, it's going to be anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 or 3 hours. You know, it's going to be good the next day as well, so if you don't get to it till then, that's fine. So I got this, and I just have to pull it and do a little shake. And let's check this out. It's pretty good, but I'm going to actually pull it a couple more times. But that just saved me about a minute or two of chopping time. I might use some movie magic during this time to, you know, sort of reduce the amount of time you guys watch me chopping vegetables up. But after this, let's chop up the cucumber. I'm gonna go take this here, peel my cucumber. And the cucumber, I'm gonna scoop the seeds out. You don't really want it any more watery than it has to be. And I'm going to have it in a cube-like consistency and just use about half of this cucumber. And for this ingredient in the avocado, you could either add it in, you know, when you're mixing all the other ingredients in, or if you want that, you know, sort of crisp taste, because as the cucumber sits in that, you know, marinade, especially with the salts and lime juice, it's going to soften a little bit. So if you want that crisp, you can actually add this later on when you're serving the dish. But I'm going to eat this probably, you know, 2 or 3 hours from now, and it'll be just fine then. I got my cucumber. I'm going to scoop my seeds out. I'm not going to need my seeds. You could use an English cucumber too if you want to. Those have little to no seeds in there. I'm going to cut this to a cube-like consistency, and I'll put my extra one right there. So. This dish is super good during the summertime because, you know, you serve it cold, so it's really refreshing. And there's a lot of different ways that you can prepare or serve ceviche. My favorite is just with some like Tostitos or something and scoop it out like a dip. But you could serve it as like an entree or a main dish. If you want to put it in some sort of lettuce wrap, that's really good. Or if you want to do tostadas, that's great. Or just eat it with a fork. You know, I've done that before too. It's delicious. So, got my cubed up cucumber. Another good thing to have is a bunch of mixing bowls ready. So I'm going to put my cucumber here. Put it off to the side. Let it wait. Next up, let me see. Let's cut up the avocado. So, like I said, you want a sort of firmer avocado, especially if you want to mix it with all your other ingredients, you know, because avocados can get really mushy. So I've seen recipes out there that sort of add this to the end, and that's fine too. But you know, I made this probably about a week ago or so, and it was just fine mixing it in with all the other ingredients. The lime juice didn't have any negative consequences to it at all. So this I'm going to actually mix in with, I'm just going to put in the same bowl as my cucumber because it's going to be cut to that same consistency. But in the end, you're going to be mixing all these ingredients together. So as long as you're not really interacting with the fish as you're interacting with you know, your other ingredients, you're good to go, and until you switch cutting boards. this, cube it up. I don't know if I mentioned already, but ceviche is the national dish of Peru, and they have a little bit different versions of it. There's a lot of, rich history in Latin American cultures. I've seen this with yams, I've seen it with corn, I've seen it with shrimp. The variation I modified this recipe from had tomatoes. I didn't really want tomatoes in there, so I took those out. You could do it with all different kinds of peppers in there. So, if you think it tastes good, add it in there. So, put this right here. And I already washed these off before. I'm not really sterilizing them between my vegetable ingredients, but I'm going to be using a different cutting implement for my fish and my protein. So, I previously washed all these, so that's good to go. For my jalapeno, your jalapeno, you could use serrano peppers. You can use ghost peppers if you want, just depending on how much you like the spice. I got a little one at home, so I'm probably going to use about 3/4 of it, and I'm going to scoop the seeds out. If you want more heat, leave the seeds in. If not, scoop them out. And I'm going to cut it to like a sort of like a diced consistency. I like to not have big chunks of it, but sort of have it incorporated uniformly throughout the dish. So, there's that. There is, let's say, like 3/4 or more of one. I'll put that here and chop up finely. Tell you one thing, you're going to get a lot of cooking or chopping practice during this dish. It's going to take about 20-30 minutes to chop everything and juice everything, especially if you're juicing limes rather than using some sort of lime juice. I've seen people put little splashes of orange juice in there as well. I like it just fine with the lime. But yeah, this is a great dish for anybody who's starting off, because you don't need to have to perfect the temperature of any sort of cooking surface, or overdoing or underdoing the fish. I've eaten this a day or two later, and that's just fine. But you should really treat it in terms of shelf life as a fresh seafood dish. So if you want to eat fresh seafood, during that time, as a leftover, don't eat ceviche like that. There's my jalapeno. Next up, let's do the cilantro. So I just have this bundle. I estimated this to be about 1/3 cup of cilantro if you sort of lightly press it into the thing. It's sort of hard to judge a leafy vegetable like this in terms of a volumetric thing, but lightly chop it up. This will give it that sort of parsley soapy taste that, I like it a lot. A lot of Spanish dishes have it in there. Really aromatic, really smells great. I need to make a herb garden of my own. So lightly chop it up. Okay. Boom. And mix that with my jalapeno. Okay. Next up, let's chop up the garlic. So with the garlic, I'm actually going to mince it up really good, just like my jalapeno. You can use a garlic press if you have one. I probably should get one, but I'm just going to chop it up just fine. There's a lot of different fun kitchen instruments that you have. I just found that hand food processor on Amazon. And those are some of my favorite gadgets out there, ones that you can use to eat. And you can have a separate mixing bowl for everything. I'm actually just going to mix this in with my cilantro and my jalapeno because in the end everything's going to get mixed together like I said. So super simple to do. Got my minced up garlic. Boom. And the part that's going to take the longest is going to be juicing your limes. So I suggest getting, ripe limes, something that's a little bit softer. And a good step to do beforehand is rolling your limes. It sort of breaks up the inner membranes, gets all the juices flowing. And yeah, if you're using that 1 pound, closer to that 1 pound range, 3/4 of a cup is fine. 1 cup isn't going to hurt. It might actually speed up the process of cooking since that fish is going to be more uniformly coated. So I'm just going to get my lime, I rolled it. I like to use this little sort of citrus juicer. I think I get the most bang for my buck. You can also use a squeezer, it might be a little bit quicker. But yeah, if that doesn't work, you don't have access to limes, lime juice, boom. During the summer it's a great time of year to get them. I found these at the grocery store and I think they're about $3 for 2 pounds, so that might get me through 2 batches of ceviche. So the pulp is actually going to sort of start clogging up these like inside veins. So if you see me actually taking a fork to clear those out, that's just letting the lime juice go through. You can incorporate the pulp in your dish if you want to. It's just up to you. So I'm gonna do this to about, let me pre-roll my limes. I'll do this to about 6 limes, pour it in my measuring cup that I have here, and see how far we got. And once I get to about 3/4 of a cup or a little over, I'm gonna stop. So that was 1 lime in there. I am rolling an additional couple more. Okay. And I might actually use a little bit of movie magic when I do this because you don't need to watch me juice limes for about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, 1 more. So about 8 limes in this situation got me 1 cup. So if I tilt it, you won't see it, but we have about 1 cup, and that was about 8 limes. So I have all my ingredients that I want chopped up. Let me move these off to the side, away from the fish that I'm gonna get. We're done with these, so we can put them in the sink. Lightly wipe all this stuff out. Scan the fish. Got my fish ready to go. But before I do that, and before I actually go and wash this fish, I am going to do the most important step, which is once again washing your hands. And this seafood's been frozen. I cleaned it beforehand, but it's always good practice to wash your seafood again. So I'm going to take it out of the package, throw that away. Here's my fish. It's a beautiful white fish. Once again, this is about 1.25 pounds or so. I'll wash it off real quick. can get some paper towels, pat the fish dry. Put it on my washed cutting board that is just for my fish. And before I do so, I'm going to trim it up just a little bit more. This is just the red meat. The red meat is muscle for more sustained marathon-like movement. It has myoglobin in it. And myoglobin is a protein that helps hold oxygen in there. It's the red meat is more for aerobic respiration and movement, while the white meat's for that burst anaerobic respiration or movement. So I got my fish here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cube it. So I'm going to cube it into about quarter to half inch cubes. The smaller you sort of cut it, the faster it'll cook, but then it'll sort of fall apart a little bit more when mixing it together. So I don't like it too chunky, but I like it to hold together. And like I said, you could use any sort of seafood. You know, I'd freeze it beforehand or purchase it frozen. Just to reduce your risk of parasite transmission. But you know, fish, shrimp, more so whitefish would work best for this. Grouper, snapper, that's great. Tilapia if you need to, but I really enjoy going out there and fishing, catching my own fish, and it makes me feel even more good when I consume it and share it with others. So here we go. I cut it about, you know, those half-inch pieces going sideways, and now I'm going to cut it and I'm just going to separate it a little bit. Do half-inch this way. And today I'm going to actually use a Ziploc bag, a gallon Ziploc bag, to marinate and cook my ceviche in. But you can use, you know, a mixing bowl that has a cover on it, because you're going to have to let it sit in the refrigerator, remember, for about that 45 minutes to, you know, about 2 or 3 hours, just depending. If you give it a stir while it's in there, or massage if it's in the bag, it'll get cooked a little quicker. More lime juice, it'll get cooked a little quicker. Yeah. But this is a delicious dish when prepared correctly. But you know, you have those microbial risks, especially, you know, since it's cooked, but it could be considered raw fish. So you know, if you're an at-risk kind of group, and you use your best judgment if you want to consume ceviche, but I recommend it. It's delicious. So yeah, like I said, the longest sort of prepare time is, besides passively doing nothing while it's cooking in the refrigerator, it's just going to be cutting all these vegetables, fruits, and fish. So it's very easy to do, and if you don't know how to cook seafood, don't let that dismay you from preparing stuff. You can always make ceviche. Okay, so I got that. I'll give you a look at sort of the consistency that I have going on here. It's about that cube. So my next step is actually going to be getting a mixing bowl. Getting my Ziploc bag. I like using this, like I said, because I can sort of massage it instead of getting some sort of hard implement and stirring it. But you can use a bowl, you can use a Tupperware. I like the bag too, because you could take out the oxygen from it, or the air from it, and sort of have increased contact with that lime juice. So I got my ceviche in there, or my cut fish. Put that here. Once again, I'm going to clean my hands. Nothing wrong with cleaning them too much or often. And now I'm going to just sort of mix in my dry, or my ingredients that I didn't cut up first. So you're going to need about a tablespoon of olive oil, Quarter teaspoon or half teaspoon, just depending on what you want, of black pepper. This is a quarter teaspoon here, but I'll just do it over it. You know, I wouldn't recommend doing it over it, just because too much can get in there, but I like pepper, and I just put 1 teaspoon and a little bit, or quarter teaspoon and a little bit more. And then 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt or sea salt. So this is a quarter teaspoon, so I'm going to put 6 of these in there. I'm going to do this over the sink because I don't want too much salt in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I got that there. And now I am going to just mix in all my ingredients. There's no sort of like rhyme or reason. I got my onion. Let me take this out there. Put that here. This is my quarter Vidalia and my quarter red onion. Mixing that in. You could use just red onion if you want, or you can mix, you know, get it with a different kind of onion in there. My parsley, my jalapeno, and my garlic. Putting that all together. My avocado and my cucumber cube. Like I said, you could put this in when you serve it, just if you have a softer avocado and you don't want to get it mushed, or if you want your cucumber a little bit crispier, or you can do it now, but I'm going to be eating this later on today, so I have no problem with it going in now. And then the most important ingredient to ceviche, your lime juice. Put that in. And now I will mix them all together by massaging the bag. This is sort of unique that you can do that when you use a Ziploc bag rather than a Rubbermaid or a mixing bowl. Mixing it together. And yeah, there it is. You can almost already see the lime juice interacting with the fish. The fish is going to go from like this clearish sort of opaque or white to like more of a solid wall opaque kind of white. I'm going to leave it like this, and you know, if I want to, I could go back to my refrigerator and give it a little massage every now and then, and that might increase the cooking time or decrease the cooking time just because that lime juice is interacting with it more. If you think you don't have enough lime juice, you could always add more, but as that fish cooks, it will actually shrink a little bit. So more of it will get in contact the longer it stays in with the lime juice. So I'm going to put this in my bowl, and I'm going to go to the refrigerator with you guys. And now we do the hardest part of this whole dish, which is wait for it to get done. It was so good, and I'm so ready for it to get finished that I can't wait. So like I said, 45 minutes, 3 hours is a good cook time for that. More lime juice, faster it'll cook. I'm going to give it about 2 hours, and we'll come back to it and see what's happening. Hey guys, it's been about a little bit over 2 hours or so, so let's go ahead and check that ceviche. So as you can see, it is a lot different of a color than when we first put it in there. That opaqueness and that whiteness of that fish means that it's the lime juice has interacted with it, and it's sort of cooked because the proteins are denatured. So let's go ahead and scoop that in a bowl, plate it, and give it a try. I got a spoon here, and I'll angle the camera down a little bit. mix, get it from the middle. There's a scoop there, scoop here. And when you're not serving it, just put it back in the fridge. You don't really want to give any sort of, bacteria or anything any chance of invading it. So I just scoop whatever I'm going to eat at the time before I put it back. So there it is. And I'm going to put a little garnish on top of the paprika. So this is a little bit for taste, but it also looks really nice. There is your finished product. So let's give it a try. I got my Tostitos here, or my tortilla chips. Put it on my chip. Some good stuff. So try your hand at ceviche today. You don't have to be a great seafood chef because it's just mixing ingredients, letting it sit, and tastes really great. Perfect summertime snack. Thanks for watching, guys, and tune in to some other episodes of Seafood at Your Fingertips.